The world's most dangerous love spells. What if the love of your life wasn't a choice? What if that intoxicating, all-consuming passion you feel wasn't chemistry, but a curse? We've all been taught that love is a mystery, a beautiful, unpredictable force. But throughout history, some people have refused to leave it to chance. They've turned to a different kind of power, a darker power. This isn't about roses or harmless little charms. This is about coercive magic. Spells designed not to attract, but to bind. Not to charm, but to command. Rituals pulled from the pages of forbidden books, used to ignite an obsessive, irresistible, and frankly terrifying desire. Tonight we're uncovering the world's most dangerous love spells and the very real, very desperate people who dared to use them. Section 1. The Seductive Curse of the Ancient World. Long before our modern ideas of romance, love was often seen through a lens of violence and conquest. In the ancient Greco-Roman world, desire wasn't just an emotion. It was a force you could weaponize. The way they talked about it tells the whole story. You don't just fall in love, you are struck by it, infected with it like a disease. The god of erotic love, Eros, wasn't some chubby cherub. He was a tormentor who would flog his victims and drive them mad with passion. This is the world that gave us agoge spells, violent, coercive rituals designed to lead a target, almost always a woman, away from her home, her family, and her own free will. These weren't spells for fostering affection, they were straight-up curses. Practitioners, usually men, would use small dolls representing their target and subject them to symbolic torture. They'd pierce them with needles, bind them, and burn them, all while chanting incantations. The goal was to inflict a psychic torment, a burning lust so unbearable that the victim would have no choice but to seek out the spellcaster for relief. One of these spells, preserved on ancient papyrus, commands a spirit to torment the target until she gives in. The language is chilling. It asks a deity to drag a woman by her hair and guts and bring her to the man who cast the spell. Another incantation begs for the target to be laid low with fever and sickness until she abandons her husband. This wasn't a request for love. It was a demand for submission, enforced by magical violence. The line between desire and destruction was almost non-existent. It was believed this kind of magic could not only break a heart, but completely break a life. Section 2. The Binding of Wills in Grimoires of Power. As the ancient world faded into the medieval era, magic didn't just disappear, it got organized. It was written down in grimoires, textbooks of forbidden power that promised the user control over the hidden forces of the universe. One of the most infamous is the Key of Solomon, a hugely influential grimoire from the 14th or 15th century. It had all sorts of rituals for finding treasure or becoming invisible, but it also held detailed instructions for winning favor and love. But this wasn't the violent, fiery assault of the ancient agage. This was a quieter, more insidious form of control, the binding spell. The rituals in the Key of Solomon are methodical, almost like a dark bureaucracy. They require you to follow planetary hours, use specific perfumes, and draw complex symbols called pentacles. One of the main love rituals has the practitioner write a series of sacred names and a famous magical palindrome, SATORAREPOTENETOPERAROTAS, on parchment. This charged talisman would then be wrapped in clean silk and buried at a crossroads for a day and a night, a place between worlds where supernatural power was thought to be strongest. Afterwards, the user could just carry it to gain the favor of anyone they wanted. The use of silk is important. It's a luxurious, sensual material, connecting the magic to physical desire. The spell itself is a pact, a binding of wills that quietly overtakes the target's own feelings. It's less of a raging fire and more of a slow-acting poison, working its way into the heart and mind. The danger here wasn't just spiritual. With the rise of Christianity, these practices were now seen as demonic. In England, the Witchcraft Act of 1541 made it a felony, sometimes punishable by death, to provoke any person to unlawful love. Getting caught with a grimoire like the Key of Solomon, or even a simple silk-wrapped charm, could lead to an accusation, a trial, and the pyre. This magic promised to bind another's will, but it could just as easily cost you your own life. The history of these rituals is as fascinating as it is terrifying, a dark reflection of our own desire for control. If you're finding this dive into forbidden history compelling, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Section 3. The Irresistible Terror of Coptic Magic. Now, perhaps the most frightening love spells in history come from a place of intense religious fusion, Coptic Egypt. Starting around the 3rd century, early Christians in Egypt began blending their new faith with the powerful ancient magic of their ancestors. The result was a set of rituals with terrifying potency. These spells didn't just aim to influence or bind, they aimed to utterly dominate and torment a person into submission. These spells, often found scrawled on scraps of papyrus, are basically indistinguishable from curses. They frequently call upon a whole host of supernatural beings, Christian saints, Egyptian gods like Anubis, and underworld demons, to inflict suffering on the target. The goal was to make the victim's life a living hell until they yielded. One translated Coptic spell commands spirits to stop a woman named Ptolemaeus from eating, drinking, or sleeping until she comes to the man who cast the spell, and to him alone. Imagine the absolute terror of that. It's a complete hijacking of your own body and mind. Every natural urge, hunger, thirst, the need for rest, is turned against you, transformed into an instrument of magical torture. The victim wouldn't just feel an odd pull, they'd feel their body breaking down, their life force draining away, with the only relief promised in the arms of their tormentor. These spells were sometimes hidden in very personal places, like under a mattress, to make sure their dark power was always close to the victim. The real-world consequences were just as grim. In one historical account from 18th century Russia, a father found a hidden love spell that he believed was the cause of his daughter's scandalous and uncontrollable passion for a local church sexton. In many communities, a sudden, obsessive love wasn't seen as romance, but as proof of malicious witchcraft, an illness to be cured by counter-magic or punished by law. The person casting the spell risked not just their reputation, but being completely cast out from society, or worse. The love these spells created was a sickness, and the person who cast it was seen as the source of the plague. It was a desperate gamble that could easily end in a relationship built on fear, or in total ruin for everyone involved. From the violent curses of ancient Greece to the intricate bindings of medieval grimoires and the soul-crushing torment of Coptic magic, the history of love spells reveals a dark and desperate side of the human heart. This isn't the magic of fairy tales. It's a magic of coercion, obsession, and control, born from a desire so strong it seeks to completely override another person's free will. These rituals show us that for centuries, some people saw love not as a partnership to be nurtured, but as a prize to be won, a territory to be conquered by any means necessary. The spells might seem like relics of a superstitious past, but they ask us a timeless and uncomfortable question. How much control are we willing to exert over another person in the name of love? The line between devotion and domination can be razor thin, and history warns us that when you cross that line, love can become the most dangerous magic of all. What do you think? Is this a lost, powerful art, or a dark chapter of history that's best left forgotten? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for joining us in the shadows.